What you're watching here, you've probably seen before. This is the clip of perhaps the most embarrassing moment in ASL, well, now known as SSL history, Motive against Rush from Group C of the round of 24 of the first SSL season. He went out with the probes on Dominator, and you can see he checks this mineral patch it hasn't been mined from, so he assumes that the base is on the right side, and you can see this probe going up and around to make a proxy, gateway, and forge. He just simply did not check a second mineral patch with that probe. And this, again, was one of the most embarrassing moments that we've had in competitive history. So what has happened at this point is that the most amazing Dudenerd, a wonderful guy within our scene, has funded a best-of-3 show match to let Motive try to show what he's made of against Rush, and that's what we're going to be looking at over the next 2 or 3 days. And so here we go. In the bottom right of Minstrel, our Terran player, who was on the receiving end of the freest win in the history of the Star Leagues. It is Rush. And of course, his opponent trying to get some revenge here, none other than Motive. I really love the idea of this because Motive is a very, very strong player. If you are like a really hardcore ArtosisCasts watcher, you know that I've casted countless Motive games, right? Like two of the players that I've casted the most of on this channel that, you know, would be Motive and Scan, right? Like they are two of the hardest working players trying to make that break into ASL. And, you know, they just got first and second place respectively in the CNSL, which is, you know, the Cast Muse and Rock Star League, which I also cast on this channel, and then immediately make it into SSL. And unfortunately, you know, you see what can happen. You know, Motive had that blunder, and it's embarrassing, and it sucks. And so now we get to see a bit of revenge. So a big shout out again to Dudenerd for putting this up, putting some prize money on the line for them. And we're going to take a look and see if Motive can show us that he's better than what he looked like, because I think that goes without saying, obviously. Anyone could make gates in the wrong main base and lose instantly. But here you see we're starting out on Minstrel in this best-of-3 match, and the probe is harassing really heavily, as you can see. Very good micro here from Motive. He steals the gas as well, going after this SCV, and puts a lot of damage on it, so you can see some lost mining time. Notice that Rush isn't scouting yet. When a probe is in your base like this, it's good to put off your scouting for a little bit, because you have to chase the probe quite a bit. You might have to repair the SCV, and in fact, he's going to maybe lose the SCV. That's going to be a hard one to save. He actually just runs it out immediately, which makes perfect sense. And like, he might even want to turn this SCV around to repair that one, but I guess we'll see as the Marine pops out. Sometimes you can do something like just hide it somewhere, push the probe all the way out with the Marine, and then send it back in. But yeah, he did actually bring it back to repair. Got it up to 4 probe hits, so should be fine from here. And in fact, Motive sees it as it comes back. 2 hits, 3 hits, and the Marine barely body blocks it there, so doesn't quite get it. The probe is taking some hull damage and will pull out of here. In the meantime, making some Marines to kill off this geyser. Back at home, Motive, without the gas, is going to make a Nexus, and he gets it up before the SCV can get there. So, you know, you see this, and it's like, okay, there's a few things you need to think about here. Consistent Marine production to stop incoming Zealots, and a command center, right? So those are the 2 main things that we're going to see Rush going for here. But Motive is keeping some very good pressure on. You can see the Zealot coming down, wants to put pressure on. 3 Marines actually can beat a Zealot, and then you add the 4th, and it's actually becomes pretty one-sided with good micro. Ooh, a misclick there. He was going for the SCV. The SCV only had 2 Zealot hits left. But as soon as he missed the first one, that was actually a great choice, because if he had gone for the SCV, he actually would have lost the Zealot. I think he would have killed the SCV too, but I think the Zealot is worth more than slowing this down by a few seconds. But yeah, the Marines counter pushing out right now. There is a second Zealot, and he's going to see that. So he will actually turn around, but he's just trying to get the Zealot pretty far away. See? So, yeah, it's like if he happens to be trying to skip a second zealot, which this SCV is checking on, the Marines will go all the way and like force an engagement, and probes will have to be pulled. So really good play here. And you can see the multitasking that we have from Rush, keeping this SCV alive the whole time, gathering that information and making sure that his Marines are doing the proper moves against the zealot across the map. Now, taking a look at where we're at in this game, the Nexus is done, and he is down on workers just slightly here, which shows excellent control from Rush, excellent management of the situation. Look at this. They equal up in workers right around as this finishes. So we're going to be within one worker, and that just depends kind of on if they keep up with that. They should both, you know, being pro gamers. But pretty even situation, I would call this. I would definitely put it down as about as even as you can get. We have the Robo coming up as well as the second gate. No Dragoon range as of yet, which is not a big surprise. Generally, you are going to want to get that robotics out quickly for scouting and possibly some harassment via Reaver and Shuttle. In the meantime, Rush right now with the double factory, and I think he's going to have a pretty good idea that it's not very likely to be range, and you can kind of see that reflected in the second gas, although the second gas can be an answer to having an offensive gas on you to try to build up that gas, but no, here it is. The 3 factory opener. This is a brand new opener. We've seen it twice in this SSL season, where you go triple add-on, you make a lot of tanks, and then you go into full Vulture production. It's a really cool build. I've played around with it a little bit as well. We've casted it multiple times again on the SSL. A completely new style that has been popping out. And yeah, it's really interesting. We'll see if he goes for the triple add-on or not. You know, there's a possibility he does not. We see a tank being made, and we actually see speed being made really quickly. So there's a possibility he does something here, such as like a 2 or 3 siege tank into pure Vulture. Although the version of the build that we've seen a lot has been like 8, 9 siege tanks into Vultures. Like a lot of siege tanks. But yeah, we're going to see on that. Right, so 1 tank, he's going up to 3, and we don't see the third add-on. So, yep, this is going to... He'll get into mines as well here momentarily. No doubt about that. So it's going to be like a 3 siege tank plus more Vultures than you expect type of push coming out. Now, looking over at Motive's side, he's going to scout a little bit with the shuttle. He has a couple zealots in it that he did end up saving from the beginning of the game. There's the Reaver tech right there. There's the Observer tech. So he's maximized the production time on the Robo. Shuttle, Observer, Reaver is the best maximization that you can really get on that. So that you're always utilizing it. I really like that type of play. Now, the shuttle coming in, he brings his siege tanks up, but he's going to know that this is not, like, really possible to be a Reaver right now. It's just too early. There's no way to really have a Reaver out at that moment. So he does move up, because, you know, it can have, like, 2 Zealots and a Dragoon in it, which, you know, he can drop that out. If you don't have the tanks there, he'll kill the turret and then run away, something like that. Now, the third base going up for Motive right now. As far as that unit production goes, a couple of Vultures moving. Kind of interesting movement here of the siege tanks and Marines. The Observer is following, so Motive knows exactly what's going on. Couple mines being laid in the center. Gonna rotate around here with those Vultures. Ooh, laying a couple mines here would be really, really amazing. Fighting uphill against 5 Dragoons with this army won't quite work, though. He's gonna have to utilize a lot of Vultures as well. Yeah, so he's gonna have 2 Vultures come in from behind and try to lay mines. Maybe not perfectly timed right there, but look at this. He moves forward. He knows that really this is about killing off the siege tank, so he's going to kill 2 before losing below 4 goons. And in fact, he's going to clear this easily. Holy crap. That was a quick and efficient clear. That was one of the more efficient clears that I've seen. Like, that was like... The thing is, you might see more finesse from another player. Okay, you might see, like, Snow just pick it apart with the Shuttle and Reaver, right? You might see some people kite, like, endlessly trying to keep more Dragoons alive. He stomped that, though. Now, there is a little bit of a Vulture harassment coming up. And he tries to lay some mines. He got, like, a couple probes in there, it looked like, as well. And, in fact, a couple more Vultures go up and catch these probes that are going. Man! Ha ha ha! Really good play here from Rush. Reducing some of those probes, slowing down the mining, killing a lot of Dragoons. Although he did lose the tanks, he did lose the Marines, so those are things to keep in mind. that this was not perfect from Rush. But honestly, like looking at a position that looks like this from Rush's point of view, right? He's got the armory almost done +1. He's got the academy coming up. He's slowed the mining here dramatically, and he's kept the probe count very similar. I look at a position like this as being a slight advantage for Terran for sure. You know, it's like so much of the game is about slowing down the additional bases in Terran versus Protoss, because you can't completely stop them generally, right? But you can slow them some, and this what I would count as a slow. Even though the Nexus has been up for a while, it hasn't been mining. It hasn't been able to produce workers nonstop. The worker count is close up into the late 50s, and that's about as good as you can really hope for. Now, there is some counter harassment here with that Reaver. Dude, this has been so action-packed. I actually have a lot I want to say still about the actual timing push that came out and everything, but yeah, it looks like that Goliath almost ruined things here for Motive, but he does end up saving the shuttle as well as the Reaver, takes some hull damage, and loses that Zealot as well. Now, Rush has to decide, okay, are we going to try to hit a 2-base timing push? Are we going to make a command center? Like, I look at this situation, and I could really see it going either way. You know, because there's speed shuttles with Reavers, and the production's been going on for a while, you know, we're up at 10 minutes. I think he should make a command center. Like, I think if you go all in with this push, it's not smart. I think making a command center, kind of refilling out your position, you have enough units that 100% you can't die. There's no way for Motive to come in and kill you, but there is a way that if you push, you lose your army and then you lose the game, right? So he is making that additional command center, which I love to see, and moving his army around this way. This is kind of interesting because he doesn't actually have any vision on the map. If you take this away, right? He doesn't actually know where Motive's stuff is. But Motive is running down here. He did already clear these eggs. We saw that earlier, didn't really mention it. But moves the Dragoons into position immediately. That was really smart to have those eggs out of there already. But that's a lot of siege tanks, so he definitely has to pull back. Some more units coming up. Lots of Dragoons. Zealot legs are definitely not ready. Carriers are in production, but he needs a bit more time. Now, the speed shuttle with Reaver coming in, he doesn't have enough Zealots here, honestly. He's making a few more. Zealot legs are not on the cards. Gonna be a little bit tough. Now, drops those Reavers out. Okay, gets some damage on the Goliaths. That's not that big, though. Ugh, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this right now. Okay, going to back up. Rush's push just looking absolutely killer. It's very small right now, by the way. He does have some more rallying units coming out, but it's actually hard to rally them down to this position. So they're going to a more mid-map location right now. It clears out that one Zealot. I tell you, if he just had a few more Zealots in there, this might have looked a lot better, but even just the 5 siege tanks will crush these 5 goons. Now we have vultures running into the natural, and you can really just see the level of Rush here. Absolutely phenomenal play. Motive being peeled apart at the moment. And while he will save this Nexus, like, this is definitely going to get saved. He's going to get a Scarab off down here, plus a couple of shots. And down it will go. Did he just miss a shot there, shooting down? That is a reverse ramp, so might be. But yeah, look at this push that Rush has set up at the other location. Just a beautiful read of the weaknesses here of his opponent. And look at this, a starport. He's going to go Wraiths. By the way, something I want to mention, every carrier game, people are like, why don't they go Valkyries? Valkyries don't deal splash damage to interceptors. Don't ask why. That's just what the game is. But yeah, he is going to be going Wraiths here, which actually looks like a perfect situation for Wraith. And I'll talk more about that momentarily. But you see that Motive is going to hold. Okay, this has looked very bad for Motive in a lot of ways. But let's talk about how it's actually in some ways good. His probes haven't actually been hurt, right? He's been up in the low 60s this entire time. So yeah, he lost a lot of units down here. He lost part of his wall, the Reaver tech. I don't think he cares about that. He's not going to make another Reaver, obviously. But he didn't lose his probes. So he actually has a very solid 3-base economy. He's building up his carrier count. And the armies have been deleting each other, which could be good, could be bad. But what you really want against carriers is hitting a critical mass of Terran units to be able to attack. And this is why the Wraiths are actually brilliant here. Because we're very low on units. When you have big armies, Wraiths are not a good counter. if it's very small armies, like either the carriers are super, super fast, or you've been trading armies and the economies aren't that big, Wraiths become super strong because it's just very hard for Protoss to move with the whole army at once and threaten to kill you. It's more about harassment, things like that. Like, does he have enough observers on the map to actually have observers here and maybe other observers he can pull in? So I think right now what we're looking at is a Rush that should be able to take over this game if he has one good move with the Wraiths, and he's trying that right now. He brings in the Wraiths. Notice the scans going down. He's looking for those observers, and he is going to take out one carrier. The second carrier being attacked right now, and he will be able to take that out. So he's killed 2. The Wraiths are not worthless either. We don't have Psystorm out. It's not likely for there to be like Corsairs or something. It's more likely that you're going to move as a Death Ball now with Observers, Dragoons, that type of thing. Probably get Observer Speed. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. But look at this. He catches the other carriers coming out. Deals insane damage. He's going to be able to get both those. Doesn't really lose anything. Excellent control. Excellent movement here with these Wraiths. And now he's going to harass. Oh, my God. Rush just showing that, like, you know, I've been talking about it in this SSL season. I think he's actually, you can really make the argument that he's the best Terran out there. Like, I know I say light a lot of pros say light a lot. Obviously, there's Flash kind of like on the side there since he's not technically an active pro at the moment. But, like, Rush's play here, another level. Completely another level against Motive. The Wraith play, the double-pronged attacks, just keeping everything alive for as long as is possible. Excellent execution here from Rush. And still no Zealot legs. Unfortunately, the Citadel has just been started. And, you know, actually, the Zealots actually do a pretty decent job there. But there's not enough carriers to actually fight against even these Wraiths. So he needs to try to keep the Dragoons alive as anti-air. But the siege tanks aren't going to allow that. I think we're basically at the end of the game. By the way, Motive did somehow set up that 4th base location. And I tell you, this is one of the better played TVPs I've seen in a long time. Truly an excellently played game. And the Wraith, like, the choice to go Wraith here was superb. You can't always go Wraith against Carrier again on some of these bigger games. There's more cannons around. There's more Dragoons spread around the map. But in a more hectic type of situation, the Wraiths can be far superior to Goliaths in combating the carriers. And especially a situation like this, by the way, where you have that 3rd gas. So amazingly done. And Motive, I tell you, he obviously looked better than the failed Proxygate game from SSL. And I actually thought he looked quite good here. Well, yeah, GG is called. We'll actually go back and take a quick look because there was actually something I wanted to talk about with the push. And the very first push from Rush and the way it was dealt with actually reminded me of one of the 6 Dragons a little bit. Okay, so I want to take a look at this. Like, the way that Motive dealt with this here, I have a strong appreciation for, okay? There is something to be said. Obviously, people love seeing something like Snow pick something apart with, like, a Speed Shuttle and Reaver, right? Or, like, perfect Dragoon kiting you might see out of Bisu or something like that, okay? But then there's something that, like, I would call it like a maybe functional micro, which I actually very much appreciate. Let's just take a look at this, right? Because on flat ground, this Terran army crushes this Protoss army. Coming up the ramp, it's a little bit trickier. And like the way that Motive deals with this, right? Because his shuttle is incoming, but it's not there yet. So we're going to take a look at this again, okay? In fact, I'll even slow it down a little bit. So see, he walks over. He was fighting these vultures up there. Then he walks over, and it takes 4 goons, 2 volleys to kill a tank. So his main objective is to kill 2 tanks before he loses 2 goons, right? Because he wants to 2 volley 2 tanks. So can he kill 2 tanks in 4 volleys, basically, right? That turns the tide of a battle like this. But watch this. This is what I would call functional micro. Okay, so like he kills 1, targets the second, he doesn't even move out of the mine way until he gets that, and then just comes in right on top of everything, puts his damage down, gets the Scarab, and he loses quite a bit here. Well, it's not a super lot, right? But he cleans it up really, really well. This feels like, it reminds me a lot of, and I don't have like a lot of specific memories of it, but it reminds me a lot of the old, one of the 6 dragons known as Cal, who actually was my favorite, K-A-L. The least famous of the dragons, probably the weakest overall of the dragons. Like him and Free were kind of the bottom 2 of the 6 dragons, but still one of the best Protoss of his era. Excuse me. I remember watching him play and thinking, wow, he kind of plays Protoss like a Terran player in a lot of ways. The way that he takes engagements, and it's like an exacting engagement, and there you go. But yeah, I thought that that was really a very cool thing to see, because I think a lot of players would play it differently. Like, I feel like if we were seeing Bisu, he might have like picked off the vultures as they were coming and backed up here, and then kited Marines, and then like came up with the Reaver and tried out micro, right? But then suddenly rushes on the high ground, and it, you know, it becomes a little bit more of a question. It becomes a little bit more of a question where, you know, you look at this as motive and you're like, okay, I can kill all that. Maybe I lose a few more units or something, but I can kill it all. And like I said, right, he had enough that it was hard to move up that hill anyways. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Anyways, that was the first game in this little revenge match of Motive versus Rush. Rush with a very stellar victory. Hope you enjoyed. Tomorrow will be game number 2.